What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video, and welcome to Nellis Air Force Base, which is jam-packed full of aircraft ready to depart on a red flag mission, because today we are flying the 16-2 F-15C campaign by Eagle Dynamics. Now, as you may have noticed from the title, we are actually not flying the F-15C, we are flying the F-18C. The F-15C, unfortunately, is not a high-fidelity module in DCS, but the F-18 is, which is why I thought we would just use that instead and replace the aircraft in the mission editor, and it works perfectly fine. If any of you are interested in flying this brilliant campaign, but you don't want to fly the F-15C, I can tell you that no matter what jet you pick, it will work. Thankfully, the missions in this campaign are not heavily focused on triggers. So in other words, everything will play out the way it's supposed to, whether or not you are there or not to participate. So it is up to you to fly the route and the mission as accurately as you possibly can, because things will play out regardless of whether or not you're there. And to me, that is absolutely brilliant. I often do not fly campaigns in DCS entirely because they are so trigger driven, and it feels like you're basically turning a page in a novel every time you have to press the spacebar for another message to play on the screen, and to me that breaks immersion. But these missions in the Red Flag 16-2 campaign are fantastic. Now I have to say, this campaign was actually revamped about 2 years ago by somebody called Bunyap, and he's actually been the inspiration behind me filming these missions, because I used to watch him years back when he flew the F-15C campaign, and the way he filmed it was very immersive, very interesting, with using external views, internal views, and attack view to show everything that's going on. And I thought I would actually follow suit and basically replicate something similar, but using the F-18 module. So today we are flying mission 3 of the campaign, because the preceding 2 missions are familiarization missions of the area of operation. So this is the first combat mission that we are flying. Now the mechanics of how Bunyap has revamped this mission about 2 years ago, they've changed a little bit, and they're very interesting. Basically, we cannot actually die. If we get shot, we will get a message and we will get instructions from, I believe, the white team, which are controlling the engagement, and they are call sign Showtime. They will tell us that we will need to fly in behind we'll have to fly in behind a certain imaginary line to reset effectively before we can recommit, whereas enemy flights, they will be able to be shot down purely because we don't want to get confused between live and so-called dead aircraft if all of them are flying. So the dead flights are going to regenerate in certain areas on the map, where you can see on the little knee board here that I've created, and this is part of the briefing package. There's various places on the red side where flights will be able to get regenerated and start coming back into the fight. So enemy aircraft can get shot down, but you personally, you cannot get shot down, and that's kind of to try and simulate the realistic sort of red flag scenario whereby aircraft are not actually being shot down for real. Of course, you're always going to be recovering on your airfield, and hopefully everybody comes back alive, because this, after all, this is a training exercise, not a full-blown war, although it is simulating a full-blown war. And the way this campaign does it, in my opinion, no other campaign does, and I wish there was more campaigns like this. I'll be breaking down the missions into 3 or maybe 2 or 3 different parts. I think it'll be a mission brief followed by a departure. Then the second part of the second video will focus entirely on the engagement, and the third video will be the analysis and recovery back at Nellis. So with that said, let's dive into the mission planning software and see what's happening. Alright, so let's have a look at our mission here in Combat Flight. Now, great piece of software for those of you that don't know. Combat Flight, totally free, absolutely incredible. You can import any MIS file in here, and it's fantastic for planning. So we're going to be the Forward 3 flight, providing a sweep ahead of a whole bunch of packages, strike packages. Following it about 5 minutes behind us, we'll have the Dodge flights with F-15E Strike Eagles. They'll be attacking various targets in here, including command and control posts and various things. We'll have Fog flight, which is the A-10s. They'll be attacking some targets along the front line. The FIBA, which is running just down, pretty much around here. It's between Pelted Peak and Reveal Peak. We'll also have a bunch of SEAD flights, so I believe those will be the Tornadoes the RAF Tornadoes, and also F-16CJs attacking a whole bunch of surface-to-air missile sites around here. As you can see, the interesting thing about this mission is that although the Blue Force has numerical advantage in terms of aircraft, the Red Force has, well, as you can see, a plethora of various SAM systems, everything from SA-10s to SA-11s, SA-15s. Out here we have some special forces operating over the Rachel Farms. This area right here is where you'll see a bunch of circular crop fields. It's a very, very easy location to pick out on the ground. And that's, although it is now behind the FIBA on our side, we are expecting special forces around there, so we can expect some man-pass threats. So you can't descend too low. Our route today generally is going to take us out via the Dream 6 departure. So initially climbing out here on runway 3 right, runway heading effectively towards a waypoint harem. We'll go over that in the jet with the actual departure plate. Then crossing Juno 17,000 or above. Coming up to this point, Dream, and at this point here we should be about 19,000, making a right turn out to waypoint 4, transiting in through Caliente Bravo airspace. Initially this is right here, this is the Sally corridor, and then making a right turn into Caliente Bravo for our Marshal up here to the north. Our Marshal point is actually called Alaska. So out here marshalling, I believe around about 24 to 29,000, and our support flights are over here. We got a bunch of tankers. This is the Shell tanker, this is the Arco tanker, and over here we have Overlord, which is the E3 AWACS. Over here we have 2 CAP flights. We'll have the Chevy F-15Cs providing caps. They will actually stick around this area even after we push in behind for the sweep, and they will effectively provide the last line of defense for any flights remaining on the east side, and especially our support aircraft here, including the tankers and the AWACS. Here waypoint 7 will be fencing in, getting our weapon systems and everything fully ready, and then providing a sweep all the way from north to south in behind these SA-19 sites, behind the front line, which is the FIBA running between Belted and Raviel Peak. And Forward 4 is going to be the other sweep flight. They're going to be pushing in from the south hold, coming in here, passing over Mount Irish, which is over here, and then passing in from the south northbound. So we'll be crossing paths here at some point, effectively providing a sort of pincer maneuver in case there are some enemy aircraft around here. Then we can effectively try and hit them from both sides, both directions. We'll then cross paths, so they're going to establish a cap here to the north. This is the one you see, the northern cap zone, and we're going to push in, sweep from the north to south, and then establish a cap here between waypoint 10 and waypoint 11, and make sure all our strike packages have made it in and out before we then egress out towards waypoint 12, and then join down the Sally corridor again and head back towards Nellis Air Force Base. The game plan here, we can expect a whole bunch of surface-to-air missile threats, and including MiG-29s or Su-27s capping this area. So we'll try and keep situational awareness going as much as is physically possible. All these strike packages are going to be pushing in at around about 5 minutes behind us, and they have various time on targets. But our main job is to provide a sweep and just make sure we don't shoot any friendly guys. So that's it. Let's jump in the jet and get cracking. We have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect the headset. We'll see you on the left with the pin. Thanks a lot. Alright, here we are, we're in the jet, so let's get it set up. The time is currently 15:40 local, our departure time, according to this little lineup card that I've created, because the original wasn't actually accurate enough with the waypoint, so I've created a much better one here with showing all the cool stuff that we need to do, all the waypoints using Combat Flight, a great piece of software for planning. And we can see our takeoff time is 15:50, so we just got about 9 minutes to go. So let's just get the aircraft set up. We'll be taxiing out after this set of F-15s ahead of us. That's actually the forward 4 flight, which is the other sweep flight, which is going to come in from the south to north. We're going to sweep north to south, so we'll effectively cross paths eventually at some point. Now, straight away, let's just get the radar altimeter set 250. Bingo fuel, according to the lineup cards you can see there, Joker is 5, that's when we need to bug out, and Bingo is 2.5, so we set that here. Next, air-to-air waypoint, of course, if you guys are going to be flying this yourself, using the F-15 campaign, but using a different aircraft, you're going to have to set up a bullseye waypoint. So in our case, in the mission editor, I've simply set waypoint 16. So let's go to HSI data, skip to waypoint 16, which we know is the bullseye waypoint. Set that as the air-to-air waypoint. That's not boxed. Next, rad alt is done. HMD. So one thing I would definitely suggest doing is if you go here, you turn the HMD on by turning up the brightness knob here, and I see it turns it on. Now if we go to the HMD setting here, we can go to mid setup and bump that up to 60 nautical miles instead of 35. You can do more, of course. I think 60 is better. That'll of course provide data on the aircraft, data link contacts, both friendly and bandits. So I think that's a little bit more useful to bump the setting for the maximum distance for those links to be displayed. So we can set that there, and then we can go to data link and turn that on, and then go to data link again and turn that function on as well. Airborne. So now we should have our readouts, as you can see, for aircraft, as we do on the Johammocks. We can actually turn the Johammocks off at the moment, so we don't really need it. Next, FPAS, probably a good idea. Go to FPAS, select the climb function. Now we've got the best climb speed out, the most efficient climb speed. We don't necessarily have to follow, but it's good to have an indication out there just to show you what it wants to do for the climb. Right, TOT. So our waypoint 6 over here is the waypoint at which we need to start pushing at 1610, as you can see according to the lineup card. And waypoint 6, so we're holding between 5 and 6 before we have to push, but at 6 is the point we ideally need to push. So we might as well set that if we can in the airplane. And the way to do that is to give us an indication of whether we're a little slow or a little fast for the push time. We can go to data, or we can go to the waypoint that we need, so waypoint 6 in our case. Actually, no, disregard that. We need to go to sequence and then go to TOT, and this is going to be in Zulu time. Zulu time is actually going to be plus 8 hours, so if we're talking 1610, it's actually going to be 10 past midnight, so plus 8 hours. So let's do 001000. Enter. Go to target. The target waypoint 6. Enter. So we've got that boxed at 6, and you see now TOT of 001000. That's appeared over there. So that's ideal. So that's going to give us a little caret indication here, as you can see, and that's going to be moving left or right depending whether or not we're fast or slow. Now let's set the MTI to what we want. So as usual, probably go sensor control switch down twice. It will give you the SA page here on the MPCD. Let's go to the waypoint section, waypoint page rather. So HSI on the left screen, and if we go to waypoint, select that. Let's go to waypoint 1 and sequence, zoom in a little bit. 20 miles is pretty good. We'll go to the FCS page for takeoff on this side. And radar is off at the moment, and we'll turn that on once we actually get airborne. But I've created a little card for the departure, so it's going to be the Dream 6 departure right here. Let's see how we're doing for time. Time is 45, so you should start taxiing out now. But waypoint 1 is going to be Harem over here. We're tracking runway 03 right, effectively runway heading. It's programmed into the FMC here, so it's just going to be effectively an RNAV departure. Then a left turn out to Juno 17,000 or above. That's 44 nautical miles, and that's going to be waypoint 2. Let's code it in the FMC, so we're not going to set the radials or anything off the VORs, or rather the TACANs. So I think we should start taxiing. So let's get the taxi light on, and it's clear left and clear right. Do a little brake check. Looking pretty good. Start taxiing out. Nose wheel steering is in high. Now the AI aircraft is going to be pretty quick behind us, so unfortunately It's not going to look very good. So we need to really sort of put our foot down, get to the runway. And I must say, there has been a huge difference. I'm now using multi-threading, the multi-threading version of DCS. And there is an enormous difference between how this mission used to run here at Nellis. It used to be an absolute slideshow. And now it isn't. Now it's fantastic. I mean, there are still slight stutters compared to the non-multi-threading version occasionally. For me, but overall it's just a humongous difference. So I'm using the multi-threading version now, and it's pretty awesome actually. Right, so we're going to be using runway 03 right for departure. In this campaign, you do not need to speak to ATC. You can if you want, but it is not necessary. However, we'll check the approaches here. Clear on the right and clear on the left. Landing light is on. The time is 47:40, so ideally we should be airborne in a couple of minutes from now, but we are actually going to take off a little sooner. Otherwise the AI aircraft, they have no concept of keeping distance behind you, unfortunately. That is one of the downsides of DCS at the moment. AI aircraft are still flying a bit wonky and just don't understand airmanship really. Alright, runway 3 right and 03 if you're not in the US and the rest of the world. Let's stand them up, let's go. You're up. Flaps up. Out of burner. Max dry. Okay, maintain the heading out to waypoint 1. We'll get up to about 350 knots and set the auto throttle around there. Comes 350. Auto throttle's in. We can also go into attitude hold. Let's go turn the radar on.
Fork 3-1, Overlord 1-1, Bra 315,
go to the radar on
21,000.
the right display, of course, into the attack format. We've now got our data link contacts here, and we can just adjust the heading very slightly. So just with reference to the chart here, heading out to Harem. About 6 nautical miles to run. After that, it's going to be a left turn. And Juno crossing 17,000 or above. So you can see the optimum climb speed at the moment is 464 here in the HUD. Here comes 17,000, and now we'll continue the climb out to 19,000 for waypoint 4. So let's go waypoint 4. Right now, good idea to turn on any of the subsystems that we need. We'll also need to go to dispenser. It's off at the moment. We'll go into bypass as we're fencing in. We've got some targets here. This guy's 15,000. These guys are all friendlies. They're all pushing out to the same area. So after waypoint 3, which is Dream at 19,000, we'll go to waypoint 4 at 19,000. It's going to be a right turn, so just out here. That's it. We can actually start really kind of paying attention to where we are relative to the landmarks as well. It's a great little chart here. Again, I've just added these to the knee board to be kind of helpful. So we're actually going through the Sally corridor right now, and via the Sally corridor, we're going to, at this point here, is roughly the same as this point here. We're going to be turning right and heading out here around about Highland Peak. That's going to be our hold. And like I was saying, we can have a look at these sort of waypoints. So we're around about Texas Lake. This should be just about underneath us, I believe. And we've got Student Gap just out here, I think. That's Student Gap right there. And we're going to be pushing around to the northern edge of the airspace out here, out via Coal Valley. Cedar Peak is actually where our bullseye is. And relative to our waypoints, if I can just display that to you on here, relative to our waypoints here, bullseye is right about there. There's Cedar Peak right there. So it's actually, we're kind of following, we're kind of flying through the FIBA here, which is effectively the front line, and then we're doing the sweep in behind the bullseye. So that's something to keep in mind.